You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth is it doing here? Well, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. Do you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Feeling paralyzed? Your life's work has ended?
I can't help feeling that some of this is my fault. Let me alive!
In failure.
That's an invasion fleet, right? It looks like it.
What is that?
What's the flux?
That's not a question I can answer.
Yes, you can. Why don't I know about this? And who else does? We don't have any more time.
Hey, listeners, and welcome to New Doctor Who. That's right, folks. Earth Station Who is here, and we are here to talk all about the Halloween Apocalypse, Chapter 1 of Doctor Who Flux, as we want to call it. I'm looking forward to talking about this one. We got to watch it earlier today, and it was just so big, and Doctor Who is back since almost the beginning of the year. We haven't had any new Doctor Who, and so we've been twiddling our thumbs and talking about old episodes of Doctor Who, and it's been taking any little dribs and drabs and everything. And this is literally the first chapter. This is 6 episodes that hopefully will be laying the groundwork for something huge. And I'm looking forward to talking about it with all these wonderful people. And of course, we definitely would love to hear from you guys first. Feedback at earthstationwho.com. Please write us your thoughts, your predictions, your feelings on this. And, where do you think this is going? We definitely want to hear from you guys. And, let's also then introduce who is going to talk about it with us tonight. We have a couple guests, of course, from Earth Station Trek and Felt Nerdy. Let's welcome Veronica and Charles.
Hey, guys.
Hey, is this the first time you guys have been on Earth Station Who?
Yeah. On Who, I think so. I've been on Earth Station 1 a couple of times. I don't think I've ever been on Earth Station Who, though.
I have not been on either. Earth Station Trek and here.
I think we need to rectify that. I think somebody needs to be in the geek
Especially if you talk about Veronica Mars ever again.
Okay. Fair enough. Totally fair enough. I think Mike Gordon would love to do that. So
yes.
I think we definitely have you back on, Veronica. We definitely would love to have you. For the people who don't know you guys, want to describe yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Chum Chuck, and this is Veronica.
Yay.
We perform locally as Felt Nerdy. We do Star Trek and Doctor Who and general sci-fi puppet shows throughout the Southeast at conventions primarily. We've been doing that for about 8 years now. And then over the last year, we've also become 2 of the hosts of the Earth Station Trek podcast right here on the ESO Podcast Network.
Awesome. Yep. It's wonderful. When we were putting back together Earth Station Trek last year, we were looking for volunteers. And I think you 2 were one of the first to sign up and said, "Oh, we're there. We are here to help."
Yes.
That's right.
Wait till we introduce the Monkeys podcast to the network. I think, that's going to be a big one for you. See if you guys jump on that one too.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
So awesomeness. It's great to have you guys with us tonight.
Well, thank you.
And of course, we have our regulars here who I would not want to do this show without. Let's, of course, say hi to Mary Ogle.
Hi,
everybody. It is fantastic to be here for New Who.
And Mr. Mike Gordon looking pretty spiffy in his Atlanta Braves hat.
Howdy.
So you ready for new Doctor Who talk?
We got New Who, we've got Halloween, we've got World Series. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm all focused and ready to talk all about Flux.
It's interesting because, with this episode, it almost felt like I needed a scorecard to almost feel like, all right, what's going on with these people? Who's this person? Who's this? This is, I'm going to give a compliment right off the bat. And this is rare for me. So, let's mark it in the address, and everything.
Wait. Are you sure you're recording?
Yeah, I know. This is Chibnall at his strength, where he is literally laying the groundwork for what's to come for the next 6 episodes. This isn't a one and done thing, because this would not have worked at all if this was just a one-parter and everything.
Yeah, it's not a standalone thing.
No. It's not like
Chris is really good at starting a premise. I mean, it's just some problems like, finishing it up, and that remains to be seen. But right now, I mean, he's certainly given us a lot to think about. There's a lot going on. Introduced a lot of new characters, and and it was pretty exciting. It moved really quickly for me, anyway, despite the commercials.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. This one was a lot of fun to watch. Thank you, Chris.
I really loved the makeup on the bad guys. Like a lot of the times, it ends up looking like CGI makeup, but this looked like actual prosthetics, and it looked like that was obviously part of their face, and absolutely not applied.
A lot of cosplay ideas. This one episode alone will probably see hundreds of, if not thousands of cosplays from the characters.
We've got dogs. We've got creepy guys.
Exactly. It's it's just interesting. And folks, before we get started, we're going to spoil this. If you have not seen this episode, go back and watch it, because we've already thrown things out that you're going to be spoiled with anyway.
Don't listen to us without watching this.
Well, you can, but you just won't know what we're talking about.
And it's worth watching.
Yes.
Oh, it really is worth watching. This is actually, I'm going to go out on a soapbox here and take a stand. I think this is my favorite first episode for Jodie since she's come on the show.
Let's talk about the Doctor and Jodie for a minute, because I think it's important, because there's been a lot of times where I've thought that this show doesn't do her justice as a Doctor. And that is not the case here. Like, she comes off as really strong, really smart, really owning everything. And I don't know, maybe it's the first time I've watched it where I've really felt that she is the Doctor.
Mm. I know you've had that complaint a few times, Mikey. And
yeah. There's times where I thought she was written rather poorly, and but not in this case. I felt like I was with her the entire time.
I think it helped
take your eyes off her.
Yeah, I think it helped her a lot as well, having that back and forth one-on-one with Yaz. I think not having to divide her attention between 3 companions, I think, has helped her a lot, and helps her. You get a little more personality, a little more joking back and forth, a little more a feeling these two have been on adventures together. They care about each other, where it's harder to do that, I think, when you've got 3 companions to juggle.
And she even said, haven't you had fun on these adventures that we've gone on since Graham and, whatever that other guy's name was,
Right.
Since, and so it's just interesting, that they've gone off and did stuff, and the episode started right in the middle of an adventure. And that's what
it ended up relating to the rest of the story, sort of.
It is.
Wow. This is our first
because that was the dog.
That was the dog.
Yeah. The opening reminded me a bit of the beginning of Thor Ragnarok. you find Thor in a very similar situation.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
That is very true. And she had so many death traps against her in this very opening.
It's very fast paced.
She wasn't worried at all. There's been so many times where she doesn't seem like throughout this run that she doesn't seem like she knows what's going on. She doesn't seem like the smartest person in the room. In this one, I always felt like, I mean, granted, there are times where she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what the Flux is. She doesn't know, what the, I can't remember what the name of them, the dog people are doing, et cetera, but she still has a lot of confidence, and she still feels like someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, even if she didn't know what she was doing, she was working it out the whole time.
Yes.
That was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that she couldn't figure out who was Swarm. And that was, the big thing with her. At first when I saw him, it was like, Omega, it has to, it's always Omega for me. It's always Omega.
I don't think so.
No, it isn't, obviously.
And I don't think, I
hope
the
it's
anacronym,
not the Master.
I hope the anacronym thing is not, it doesn't seem to be in play either, because there was a lot of rumors that Swarm stood for, Centaurans, Weeping Angels, blah, 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 right? I don't, even though Swarm seems to be an odd name for an individual, it does sort of feel like they're going to use that, like he's a combination of things, but he's got a sister, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to know who this is or if it's just completely out of the blue. I have heard, that this story is going to tie into the Timeless Child thing. So
that's what I was about to say. Is this? Yeah. This is probably like her master from whatever she was before she was the Doctor.
Before the Time Lords wiped out. Because I think they mentioned she wants to know about the division, right? And the division is something related to the Time Lords, right?
They brought it up before.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions there as to what that is, and yeah, she's had her memory wiped at least once that we know of by the Time Lords. So that's going to be interesting to find out that mystery, I think.
And I like the idea of doctors. I mean, an enemy from so deep in the Doctor's past that even she doesn't remember those adventures. Someone who has the same familiarity with her that, say, the Master would have, or Davros or whomever, but she doesn't. She's at the disadvantage because she doesn't remember the adventures. So now she's having to play catch up.
Exactly.
So I think that's actually a pretty cool concept.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like it. This was almost, forgive me, because I think some people are going to be like, but it was almost Moffat-esque, right? Because we have an enemy from her past that's attacking, but then we're introduced by someone who she hasn't met yet. Which I think is Claire. Is that right?
Yeah, Claire.
Not yes. Clara, but
Claire.
No,
not that.
But just playing Claire, and that's an intriguing storyline too. I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on here, and I like the sort of like faux. They sort of brought up where this element where you're like, oh man, is Dan going to be like one of those most important companion things again? But they quickly resolved that by saying like, nope, you just got him because that's who this one alien was assigned to. Not attracted to, but assigned to. Obviously not attracted to. And that was an interesting concept of its own.
It was funny, too. It's like, oh, so he's your best friend. No, it's not by my choice.
I can't stand him.
Yes, I really can't stand him.
Just because I'm assigned to him doesn't mean I have to like him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's a really interesting concept as well. They could play around with that a lot, I think.
So going back to Claire, when she walked up to the Doctor and was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And she's like, I'm from your future, my past. And the Doctor seemed so completely uninterested in that and not at all surprised. That it was surprising to me that she didn't want to know more about that, because that's typically what happens.
Well, that happens to the Doctor all the time, though. That's she probably frequently meets people who she hasn't met yet.
Well, it was interesting. After they showed this episode here on BBC America, they actually showed Blink right after.
And the same thing happens at the end of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's right.
And he's fascinated.
Chibnall's just copying. Right?
Yeah. And part of me thinks they did it purposely because of the angels.
I think they definitely did it.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget the Weeping Angels are in this too.
Yeah, well, exactly.
We do see, and they're going up against Claire, right?
I felt so bad for Claire. Whole, with having to keep, because she knew enough, because obviously she knew about the angels that she knew she could not blink, and so it's very curious where she comes into the storyline. Yeah, and it was just awesome, and she just like blinked for like a second, and she was gone, and then that tied into Liverpool back in the 1820s.
Yeah, I'm really curious about what those tunnels are supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if that's where Claire got sent back to.
I think it is.
That was my thought.
I think where that's going to be. Yeah, otherwise we're going to get way too many threads here. Already, like Chibnall's got like 6 or 8 threads going, and he ties up a few of them here right off the bat, but there's still a lot to play with, and because that whole scene is she's Claire, who we don't know, and there's a mystery with her, is called into this and great for Halloween, this sort of house, this haunted house looking thing, right, with spirits, a voice calling to her to come inside the house.
No, that was Di.
Oh, that was Di. That's right. That's right. That's Di.
She was supposed to meet Dan to go on the date.
Right.
Or the friend date. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So yes, right. That's another thread we've got. So we've got that. Yeah, that's why I confused the two. So yes, we've got those 2 threads going, and who knows how those are how to play in, right? Because Di's being called in by the sister of Swarm sister Swarm.
Right. How about we call her Swarma? But yeah, it was just interesting. It was like I didn't expect the whole thing with the sister Swarm, whatever you want to call her. That took me by surprise, because when you first see her, she's in human form, and she's living at the Arctic Circle with this guy, and all of a sudden this floating alarm thing went off, and she took an axe to it, and it was just like, it's like, what? It didn't even make sense at the time. And then the next scene, when he shows up, and it was just like, there's something there, then it doesn't make sense. Like, who was this guy?
It's kind of like, that Time Lord device, right? Where they are living a human form to hide from their enemies or whatever. And that's what she's doing.
So kind of like a fob watch type thing?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That does, because the same thing was happening with, the other doctor that was introduced last year, right?
Ruth Doctor.
She was, the Ruth Doctor, Dr. Ruth. And so it does, Mike, it does point to your maybe sort of theory that Swarm is they're Time Lords.
Yeah.
Or proto-Time Lords.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at the very least, somebody who's on the same technological level.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
It actually would be kind of cool if they were some of their Gallifreyan, and that they were experimented on by the Time Lords when they first got the Doctor's regeneration power or something. Yeah. And that, a possibility.
Yeah.
So it's out there, and I'm sure by the time we get 6 weeks from now, I'll be like, God, I was an idiot for thinking.
So, it's fun to speculate.
Yeah, it's fun at this point. Like, anything goes, right? I mean, it's still early. There's nothing really conclusive. Like, we don't really as far as what the Flux is. We have no idea.
I went, what the Flux?
Exactly. It's just this entity.
Flux.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this episode is really just setting the stage. I mean, so we're not meant to know anything yet, but it's exciting to have all these interesting pieces sort of in play, because I find myself, very engaged by everything that's going on, which I'm pleased to see.
Well, I will tell you this: the CGI they used for the Flux was just amazing.
Yeah, so much better than the CGI
they had some really
opening
cool
scene.
effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away by the scale of this. Just thinking about how far Doctor Who's come in the 16 years. It's phenomenal.
Let alone 50.
I was going to say the 58 years. It's come so far. Yeah, I couldn't see them doing that with
in the first sequence with Doctor and Yaz did strike me as a little too much, but
it was very green screen.
It was very video gamey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the stuff with the Flux looked great. I mean, it looked like, to use a Trek reference, it looked like the Genesis stuff, right? Like, it really looked really that cool and that badass, and scary because, I mean, the way it was taking out planets was really intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't even talked about Dan yet.
Oh, we're getting there. We'll get there. It was really cute, though, when his name is Carnivista, is the dog creature. Mm-hmm. And when he took off his helmet and you saw it was a dog, of course, I was watching.
Judy wanted to adopt him.
Judy, I was like, oh, he's so cute. And it's like, we're not getting another one.
Bring him home.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, God, I wouldn't want one that talks like that. Or,
Well, I mean, supposedly you have one assigned to you, Mike.
I know I do. I know.
Probably on his way right now.
It's probably on his way.
And it's like, and of course, we were watching it with Mike and Rosalind Faulkner, and when we watched it, they were, Mike yelled, "Hey, look, it's a Wookiee."
Oh, no.
And it's like, no, it's a puppy, Judy said.
I thought similarly, maybe not as good as the cat effects or from, a few seasons ago, but I did think that the mask worked really well, the prosthetics. And when he talked, it looked really good. And the voice actor that they had, I don't know if he was actually in the suit, but he seemed appropriate as well. I think, they were compelling. Mm-hmm. And we'll see that cosplayed a lot, I'm sure.
What did you think of the Sontarans?
The return of the Sontarans.
I love these Sontarans.
Yeah.
I love these.
They look more like old series Sontarans.
Yes. And I like that.
And I don't mean the 2 Doctor Sontarans. I mean more like the Time Warrior. The Time Warrior, or even the Sontaran Experiment. Mm-hmm. That era.
And they're more intimidating looking than the jokey Sontarans in purple suits that we got, during the RTD and then into, with Strax. I love Strax. But I love the Sontarans that are actually, they seem a little more intimidating, like they're ready for battle.
Well, it was interesting because the Sontaran that was on the hologram, that was Dan Starkey still.
Wow.
And because you recognize the voice.
Yeah.
I like the look of them, and I really like the way that the mask, they are, I don't know if it was CG or what, but that move, I loved how that interacted with them. The voices were great. Of course, it sounded familiar. It's sort of, if it wasn't Dan, it sounded like him. So they all kind of sound the same. But I will say the dialogue and some of the direction there was too comedic for me. Like they give him this look like, hey, they're nasty again and they're going to be a threat. But yet they still, I couldn't take them seriously because they were like, ha, 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 ha. The camera just stayed on them. And this episode was full of all this stuff going on. And there's so many quick cuts and everything like that. It really stays on them a little bit too long while they're going, ha, 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 ha. It's like, no. Just, let them be a little bit more intimidating, I think.
I felt like they were, and especially because we now know what next episode's going to be, that, the Sontarans are actually a threat again. This actually feels like these are the guys who could invade Gallifrey and, and such. But it was neat to see, the interaction between the two of them. It got old after, him, oh, look how old and prunish you are looking. It's like.
Yeah, they did go too far with that.
Yeah.
But
I think, truthfully, I think that's one of the weakest parts of the episode to me. And there was a lot of strong in this. And even to, them when they shrunk Dan's house, it was like
that was a very master thing to do.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that. It was just like, wait a minute. And they had to go for the toilet humor, of course,
Of course.
Yep.
When that happened. But it was neat to see, and we might as well jump in with Dan. We were introduced to Dan. And it was weird. He was like being a tour guide at the museum when you first saw him. And obviously he's not a tour guide there. And it's like,
he apparently just really likes Liverpool.
And I wonder how much that's going to come into play with the 1920s stuff.
His knowledge of Liverpudlian history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you figure it has to come in somehow.
I was also reminded, and this is, I don't know if this is an in reference or not, but I was also reminded while watching some of the other episodes of Doctor Who they showed today that the human that Dr. Ruth was masked as was also a tour guide.
That's true.
That's
interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to make anything of that. But,
I think there's a lot of MacGuffins in here. Like
it could
the
be.
observation post was called Rose.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be fair, it was also shaped like a rose.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
When they said Rose, I said, really?
When they first announced Dan, I guess it was last year, I rolled my eyes because I was looking forward to the Doctor and Yaz, and it's like, do we have to have an older white guy? But I have to say, watching this, I found him really likable. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Really likable. But John Bishop made me turn on the closed caption real quick because I was like, I cannot understand what he's saying right now. Like I just had to. I turned on the closed caption for this. He was a little bit, very, very. His accent was a lot thicker than it is most of the time on these shows.
No, exactly. I haven't heard an accent that thick since Capaldi. And I love how they referenced him in this with the handcuffs.
Yeah.
I think I might have programmed these when I had a Scottish accent.
And then she rolls her R's.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice little callbacks there's a callback to Ace.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, with the Nitro 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
that was awesome. I didn't see that coming. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other I don't know. There's a lot of things here that are kind of reminiscent of past Doctor Who things. And I don't know. Obviously, Mary, as you said, there probably a lot of them are just little teases that are not going to go anywhere. But fans are going to notice them and speculate.
There's a couple nods to the old series. There's a couple, wink winks from old past seasons, which was nice. And I think that was for the old fans who have bitching and moaning about Chibnall's era.
Yeah, well, he had been criticized a lot for kind of ignoring past.
Exactly. And, from the opening scene, though, it was enjoyable. I did laugh a little bit, because everyone wanted to see a relationship between the Doctor and Yaz and everything. And what happens when they fall into the TARDIS? There's a mattress and bed right there in the control room. And it's just like, and I've already seen the haters out there. Oh, see, told you, a feminist agenda there. And it's like, really?
No, it's there for them to land on when they fall into the TARDIS. When they bounce off the net, obviously. It's always there.
You got to prepare for these kind of things.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And the TARDIS knew they were falling in, so the TARDIS probably materialized in there.
That's the other thing about what's going on with the TARDIS. I mean, especially all the doors.
Yeah.
And the leaking.
Yeah, the leaking. There's something wrong with the TARDIS as well. So that's another mystery for us to unfold this season. It's like, I've only got 6 episodes, but man, I'm going to throw a lot at the wall
every
here.
Second.
Exactly.
And we did see the return of, a famous, very famous TARDIS part from the David Tennant era, the sledgehammer. It was awesome. And boy, did they use it in this episode.
Yeah.
So
he's beating the hell out of the TARDIS.
I was going to say, what's wrong with the TARDIS? I don't know. The Doctor keeps beating it with a hammer. Maybe that's what's wrong with the TARDIS. If Dan asked the question, is it alive? And Yaz doesn't have a definitive answer, and we never want to have a definitive answer. Although we know the answer is yes, that she is. But it's like, she keeps beating the crap out of it. I wouldn't be happy if I was the TARDIS. The Doctor's beating his wife.
Wow. Wow.
Or her wife, I'm sorry. But to your point, Mike, I did think about that too, where they sort of landed on the bed, and obviously the fanfic folks are like, woo, we've got a scene that we can go crazy with. But I did think overall, because we haven't really talked about it much, I thought Yaz was really great too in this. Very strong,
she got so much to do.
Very competent, very the banter between them was great. As you said, Charles, it's like not having that extra stuff there for other companions, it allows just the one-on-one time. And we get that a little bit now. Of course, we've got, John Bishop in there too. So, that sort of messes that up. So we get a little bit of it. But I think Yaz looks like competent and great in this. Better than she ever looked in the previous season.
I loved how she was the one to rescue Dan from the dog crate, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And not just like doctor, what do I do? Like, I'm not sure, like we've seen so many times before. She's in there. She's like, I know what's going on. She's like, I know exactly how many the booby traps are here.
Yeah, she said there were like 9 booby traps in here. And it's like,
I'm trying to work it out. Boom, boom, boom. And she does.
Exactly. And Dan was like, how do you know that? Oh, I've been through this before.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, I think this extra companion they don't typically have. I think it's going to work better because Yaz has so much experience, so she's not going to be the one always asking the questions. There's only one that's really kind of learning the ropes, whereas Yaz has done a lot of it already.
That's true, and they can write Yaz to be more competent because of that. Because the audience can assume that she's in the loop, and you can trust what she's saying because she's been with the Doctor longer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, although Dan did say a friend of his had a TARDIS too, but it was a lot bigger. So Dan has some experience in that regard too.
I'm hoping those are jokes and not clues.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Like is that another clue? Like, are we, yeah. I mean,
is his buddy the master,
I hope Dan is just Dan.
Yes.
Exactly. I don't want him to be the most important man in the universe or something. But I think they took care of that already this episode. That he's
what's so special about him? He's just a guy that this one creature was assigned to. So and now he's along for the ride because they don't have time to drop him off somewhere. So he's stuck there, and I'm with you guys. When I first saw him, I was like, oh, another white dude. What, do we really need that? And maybe we don't, but as far as the character goes, he's enjoyable. He's a nice guy. I like the way they set him up as a guy with a good heart. Mm-hmm. He may not be the smartest guy, but he looks like he can take care of himself. And I kind of like that. And obviously he's there for laughs.
Yeah, he does seem to be pretty smart though. Leading tours at the museum, they have to kick him out.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. And he does kind of figure out what's going on. Like, oh, you can't kill me because you need me alive, because otherwise you would have killed. Like, he can figure some stuff out.
You would have killed me back in my kitchen, as
exactly.
He does seem like a very likable person. Like, if you met him, you would enjoy hanging around him. He's a real nice guy.
He would be somebody like I would want to go to get a beer with or something and enjoy a conversation. A pint, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Don't mention Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's already more chemistry with this TARDIS team than there was for the entire last 2 seasons.
Well, considering he's got to do his thing in front of this huge shadow that is Graham, I think he's doing all right.
There's just no comparison.
Exactly, and I liked the thought, he was pretty selfless. He wouldn't take anything from the soup kitchen. And, then he went home and there was no food in his pantry, in his fridge, nothing. And I found that really interesting. It's like, but he had no problem, giving to the kids, giving to the needy. And it made him immediately more likable than pretty much everyone who's been on the TARDIS the last 2 seasons.
The thing that didn't make sense though was that it was obvious that the trail for the Doctor was set, right? I mean, they mentioned it. Puts the laptop in his flat, which he obviously can't afford or doesn't seem to be a guy who would use that very often. And he's got this laptop there, and they say oh my God, this is like a setup. The house shrinks or whatever, and it just seems like it's a lot of trouble that this one alien would do, especially since it seems to be doing things for the sake of good rather than But it is trying to get rid of the Doctor because it knows that the Doctor is on his tail.
Oh, very much so. Literally, yes. But it was interesting, too, because, when they figured out, how does this guy have a laptop like this living in this place? And then it's not his laptop, boom, 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 type thing. And it's like,
yeah.
So it's good to know laptop technology is, all across the universe.
I did think that it might be more practical to put more than one human per spaceship. If you're, rather than sending 7 billion spaceships each to pick up a human, maybe, carpool. It's one of those Doctor Who things that's, the scale of it is impressive.
They needed all the ships to make the formation.
Yeah, they don't do that formation.
Yeah, just not a plan you want to think too much about.
Yeah. No, don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Don't ever think about it.
You never think with Doctor Who. Come on.
Yeah. Where'd they get all the resources to make that many ships? How many planets did they scavenge? And take all of their resources.
And then if somebody dies, do they send one of the other ships home or something? Oh, wait. This person, passed away. Oh, it's like,
my human is gone.
We don't need you anymore.
You're off the hook.
Boom.
So just so I want to clarify things, because it didn't really. I read about this later on a review that I read, and I didn't get it while I was watching it because I maybe it was too fast or whatever. But Carvanista, who is the one that saved Dan, is assigned to Dan. He was the one that set up the Doctor and Yaz at the beginning. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, he is not a great guy.
No. No, but also he has some connection to the division. And that's why she was after him in the first place.
Right. Which he won't talk about. Right.
Right. And so, because she's trying to still follow the trail for the, whatever, the Timeless Child stuff. And
it just seems odd that, he's a member of the division, which we need to find out more about, and is doing bad things to the Doctor, and yet I know he's not happy about having to save Dan, but he's saving him. He's doing a thing, they're committed to protecting Earthlings, humans, and I don't know. He seems like that seems like two characters traits that don't really match well to me.
Yeah, I figure there's got to be some reason he's been told to do that, or he's been manipulated to do that.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to hear more of the backstory of why they're required to save a human, and under what circumstances. Is it just end of the world circumstances, or are they supposed to show
why
up?
Didn't they come out before? Where are
they now?
I did like the dynamic, though, of this sort of curmudgeon guy who's forced to go save a human being and just isn't happy about it.
No, agreed completely. It's interesting because, you have all these different storylines. We haven't even talked about the individual who was on the Rose station either, because he's going to be playing a big part also.
Vendor,
yeah. Yeah, well, there's not. I mean, right now, as far as we know,
tell us anything about him.
He's just a guy who's at a station that sees this thing that's coming and doesn't like his bosses.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I wondered, is he some kind of prisoner? I mean, is that a sentence that he was serving, or
it wouldn't put an escape pod in there? I don't think. If
he was a prisoner, he would not have an escape pod at all.
Oh, I don't know.
It'd be pretty expendable.
He's pretty stylish, though. He's got some nice hair.
Nice hair. Well, compared to the last role we saw him in, he had no hair. And so it was good to see him in that, and I'm going to be very curious to see, what his role is and how long he's going to be on, because I also know he was cast in the new Interview with a Vampire too.
Oh, he's getting some work.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you're on Game of Thrones. You're going to get some work.
Oh yeah.
I don't care what you were on Game of Thrones. You're going to get some work.
But so he's going to obviously be somewhere hooking up with Team TARDIS. So we're going to have another set of 3 companions for a little bit, if he's with them for that long. Yeah. So we don't know. And so, they've been fairly tight-lipped about, except for, who's returning this season, but other than that, we have a lot still to go, and we have 5 more episodes after this. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to ask you guys to try to make predictions or something, because we'll all end up on egg on our face. So, I don't want to do that. But, as always, we're going to, do we have any final thoughts? Anything further we want to say before we go ahead and rate?
I was also thinking too, this is going to be hard to rate because it's just an introduction,
Right. It's
like,
more of a setup than anything else.
That's, it's like rating the first part of a 3-parter or a 2-parter. I mean, this is the first part of a 6-parter, and how good this is, it's pretty compelling. I'm interested in everything that's going on. So I give Chibnall a lot of credit for that. As far as will he be able to stick the landing? I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see about that, but he's certainly opened up a lot of doors here. And I'm interested in almost all of them. So I have to, from that perspective, I give him credit, but obviously, yes, it's going to be difficult to sort of, I think this is going to be something that we're going to have to just rate on as a whole.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Maybe what we're going to do is, we'll get in contact with everyone who's going to be on the different episodes, and they'll leave at the end of it the rating as a whole, because we usually don't rate, first part of 2-parters, because there's certain ones that, 2-parters we've done in the past that have gotten 5 TARDISes, but then the second part totally stunk, and I wanted to quit Doctor Who right there on the spot. So,
whichever one could you be talking about? I wonder.
So, I don't think it's right for us to just rate this one. I will give it a thumbs up for this week, saying I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the world building they were doing in this, and it's great to have Jodie back as the Doctor. It is just awesome.
She was awesome.
I tell you what, if this is how she's going out, this is great. I mean, we were all kind of like, kicking the sand a little bit, saying, man, it's too bad she doesn't get another writer to really grow and show what she can do. But I think this is already showing that for us. So,
very much so.
I think she's going to go out in style. I think she's going to go out really well. If this is any indication, she's already won me over. Not that I never disliked her, but I just always thought that she was being handcuffed throughout most of her tenure as a Doctor, and I don't feel like that now.
Well, here's the question for you, Mikey. You've always said she hasn't had her Doctor moment to you. Did she have it this week?
She kind of did. I kind of like the fact that she went to do the whole, it's Earth, it's protected, but she was distracted at the same time. I really kind of like that scene a lot. Another callback, of course, to another Doctor moment, but I like the way that it was no, I'm having a Doctor moment, but there's really something going on that screen here, and I can't really concentrate on my Doctor moment, which is a Doctor moment. I thought she was, and as the fun banter between her and Yaz in the beginning, felt like a really good Doctor scene, where she turns to her and says, "I can't help but feel that this might be a little bit my fault." I just thought that was a really good Doctor line.
You think,
because it's always her, it's always the Doctor's fault, right?
Well, and also that Yaz totally calls her on it. She's like, it is entirely your fault.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, exactly. So I give it thumbs up. What about the rest of you guys?
I'll give it a thumbs up. I thought this was really compelling. I'm really intrigued to see what happens next. They've got a lot of storylines going on, but they're all keeping my interest. And I mean, it's easier to write a fun, exciting beginning than it is a satisfactory ending. But at the same time, it's critical, because if you don't catch people's attention, no one's going to watch the rest of the episodes anyway. There's plenty of shows that I've seen that I didn't make it past the first episode. So I think they're on a good track here, and I'm really excited to see what they do over the next 5 episodes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope that people who have heard through the news that there's going to be a new Doctor, who maybe tuned out a little bit, maybe we're kind of interested in saying well, I'll check. It's only 6 episodes. Let me see if I can. Let's see the last of Jodie's run. Whatever. Let's see. I hope this got decent ratings, and I expect that people who were coming back to Doctor Who for that reason were pretty happy with what they got, and hopefully will be engaged at least for the next few episodes, because I think it started off really strong.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give Chibnall a lot of credit, because he was under a lot of pressure. It's not like he didn't know people were not happy with the way things were going. And good for him for being smart and going back to his strength, which is, I mean, this is the kind of format that he loves, a type of miniseries format. And good for him for going back there and for, I think for an opening, he really hit it out of the park, and it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the next episode.
Awesome. Veronica, what about you?
So I think because Chibnall could write this arc, and this was clearly going to be an arc, because I know a lot of the seasons of Doctor Who and other series where the writer had a plan in mind, lead writer had a plan, they knew what was going to happen, but the executive producers got in the way and they wanted to change it and the actors wanted to change it. But I think in this case, I really think it's going to play out well because there was a plan and they're going for it, and it's just these 6 episodes instead of like a whole season. So I feel like it's going to land really well. And I'm very excited to see the ending. So 2 thumbs up.
Excellent. Awesome. So all positive overall, but it wasn't perfect. Still Chibnall, but I did enjoy it, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what's to come next. We definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. And if you guys want to speculate, if you guys want to let us know what you guys think is going to happen, please, we definitely would love to hear from you. And it would be great to see, because, it'd be great to see if you get egg on your face like we usually do. So please write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. And, if you're right, we'll be fully glad to announce it on the air. And we'll read your emails starting next week. And you definitely would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys have to say? So, of course, thank you guys for listening as always. And, Chuck and Veronica, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
How can people find you guys?
Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
Yep, that takes us to our Facebook page. If you're in the Atlanta area, our next live performance will be at the Holiday Puck and Puppet Show here in Atlanta at the Village Theater. Dates for that's not been announced yet. That's an adult-oriented puppet thing. Or you can check out Earth Station Trek, which is our Star Trek podcast on the ESO network, and we cover Star Trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everything in between.
I was very impressed you were able to say that name of that show without me having to beep you, sir.
I had to beat myself on Earth Station Trek once because I said it too many times and got the consonant swapped.
That is awesome. And Mary Ogle, thank you as always.
Oh, thank you. God, it's so exciting to have New Who back and to have a really good episode. It really energized me. It was wonderful to watch, and I hope it maintains the momentum that it created in the first episode.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, very much so. And where can people find your wonderful artwork?
They can find me at maryugle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike Gordon, we made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Thank you as always, my friend.
Bring on the potato head, Santara.
Aha, that's right. We are ready for I guess it is basically next week is Chapter 2, War of the Sontarans. So It should be a lot of fun to see. So that gets them out of the way real quick, pretty much. Maybe. So it'll be very interesting to see where we go with this. Good luck for everybody. We're, as if you couldn't figure out, we're going to be reviewing every one of these episodes in order. So we'll be back every week. We're not taking our 2 weeks like we normally do. So, you get stuck with us weekly for the next probably 6 weeks and maybe a little bit more. So it should be a lot of fun. But until then, my name is Mike Faber. Thank you guys for listening. You could find us up on Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are found. Our Station Who's there too with the other guys. So definitely listen to us. It's always great to hear from you guys. So you could write us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. And of course, we have a great Facebook group. We have an amazing Facebook group. Why not get involved with it? It's always great. We put up new stories. We put up our episodes, and you also can, find different humor stuff, different articles, anything you could think about with Doctor Who. We have it up there. Check it out on Facebook. And, till then, I think we're done for tonight, and let's go watch this another 2, 3, 4 times, I guess, So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you soon. Peace. And we are done. Boom. Awesome. That was easy.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talent from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
Okay, promo for the FlopCast. Let's go.
First, I need an adjective.
Naked.
Need a noun.
Wombat.
Place.
Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Number.
251.
Okay then, the FlopCast is a naked podcast about cartoons, music, comics, movies, and wombats. Find us on the ESO Network and flopcast.net. Go ahead and listen to it in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. 251 times.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.